I want to talk a little bit, and I know you've touched upon it, but you haven't quite yet. How you relate to this particular character with events and real life situations. When I was talking to your director, Derek Brown, he talked very specifically about how one unique thing about this play and also all the August Wilson plays is that if you're Black, you identify with the journey of each one of these characters, that you can't grow up and live without either having one of those characters in your family or experiencing it and just knowing it to some degree. So I'm wondering, and you said that you only take on characters that for the most part you can identify with. So can you tell us a little bit about how it is you identify with your character and how it's also part of your real life, how those two mix?
Gene is me. I'm Gene. Gene's a light-skinned guy, and to this day, what I see in Gene, he doesn't understand all this light-skinned, dark-skinned stuff. All he sees really as he's growing up is just people, and that's the way I've been in my life. I remember growing up as a kid, you know, high yellow nigga and red bone and all this other stuff, and I to a point that I hated my skin color. I was trying to darken myself because I was constantly being teased by my darker counterparts that you're not Black enough. As a matter of fact, to this day, in some circles with Black people, they'll not see light-skinned people as Black. And I heard that just about a week and a half ago from another light-skinned girl. So they don't see us as Black because we're not. I don't think sometimes the way that we speak, the way we carry ourselves, you look too much like the white man, you look Puerto Rican, you look whatever man, you don't look dark enough. And so what that made me feel was that sometimes, I'm being honest with you, sometimes when I'm around my darker brothers and sisters, because this has been said to me many, many times, he said, niggas like you, Duncan, would have kicked your ass. I don't know if you can edit that or not, but really. but really, you would have kicked your ass because you think you're better. You think you can get all the girls, and that was I was totally opposite. Matter of fact, I didn't think I could get any girls. I didn't think Black women liked me because I was too light. I didn't think that I fit in. I was trying so hard to fit in, trying to be part of something I knew. Because I'm looking at my mother. My mother's Black. My dad's Black. Why am I having this problem with my own people? What is this thing with light skin and dark skin? For the longest time, I didn't know what the whole thing came from. But it does have its roots in slavery. The light skinned slaves are inside the house with the master, the white man. So they felt they were more entitled. The darker skinned Blacks were out there in the fields. So a matter of fact, I remember one time it was me and another actor, we were auditioning for a role. And he's a runaway slave. Part of me felt I'm not going to get that role. Not because of the ability, but when you think of runaway slave, do you think of me? You think of someone's dark. You think of someone basically has a very vicious looking look about himself. That's what you're thinking. So the guy that actually had the role, I said, he looks like, in the eyes of a white person, a runaway slave. I don't look like a runaway slave. I look like the house nigga, the one that's inside of the house. So that stuff right there, growing as a kid, me and my brother Dave were both fair skinned, and at one time we were putting like suntan lotion on ourselves just to get darker. And there are times, even to this day, this is how messed up this whole thing is. Sometimes to this day, I even wear darker makeup because there's a part of me subconsciously that still is dealing with that issue of you're not Black enough. The white people don't like you. The dark people don't really like you or accept you. You're in this place, and a lot of light-skinned people feel this way. I'm not just saying that we're the only people that feel that. Darker-skinned people have their own issues as well, but we feel as though we're not really part of anything. That we're almost like we're an entity or race unto ourselves. But that's how this whole thing with the masters separating the light-skinned Blacks and the dark-skinned Blacks has pervaded to this day. There's something called the brown paper bag test that is still done in the mainland, where if your face is not the shade of that brown paper bag, you can't get into certain clubs.
If it's not the shade of the bag or lighter.
Or lighter.
Or lighter.
So they would still be benefited. was.
They were still being benefited.
Yeah.
But I didn't feel. But me, I didn't feel. I didn't come off and think I'm better. I just wanted to fit in.
Right.
I didn't think I was. You're a pretty boy. You get all the girls. I was telling this one guy. I said, I'm not. I just want to be a part of something. I think Gene was like that. Gene was like, I just want to just. Can we just be people? Why does it have what light, dark? Who cares? And that's one of the lines he has. Who really cares? But that thing has been put inside of us as black people to separate us from slavery times. And I think one guy said, you know something? He said, the white man has done a real good job on us. He's done a real good job on us. To this day, we have this problem. I think Brad was mentioning something that kind of struck me, Brad, you're out there. He says, I can't believe you guys are still having this problem. That's still going on. And it hit me in my mind and said, wow, we're still dealing with this. Mm-hmm. At some point, we as black people have to let this thing go and stop with this light skin, dark skin stuff again and realize it's separating us. It's not bringing us together.
It's ingrained in the culture on so many different levels, right?
Yeah, I think especially today, and we talked about this a little bit yesterday as a woman, you know, the standards of beauty, particularly for black women, has always been lighter skin, straighter hair, you know, features that are more European than African. And so growing up and having the thick lips and the wider nose and the darker skin and the hair that's not straight, you grow up feeling that you're not beautiful, that you're not attractive. And, you know, the men in your life also kind of would say those things as well. If you look at the music videos, for instance, of a lot of the songs, the hip-hop songs and the things that are popular, from the history of music videos, the beautiful woman is always the lighter skin with the straight hair. It's rarely, if ever, the darker brown woman, you know, with more African-like features. And so that really does a number on women and girls. It does a number on girls growing up. And so for me, in looking at Alma and, you know, just her praying, God, please just make me light and pretty, make me small so I don't have to take up space. I don't want to be dark. You know, all of these kinds of things that she equated with being ugly, you know, unattractive, poor, disadvantaged. All of those things for Alma and even for her mom are just wrapped up in this darkness, this, you know, the nappy hair and all of that. If only I would light. The opening monologue, I'm talking about how my mother and her mother felt that if only they had been born light and rich, their lives would have been better. If they could marry a light-skinned man, somehow things would be better because their children would come out lighter. The character Alma is told by her mother, don't marry anyone dark. Marry someone like this guy here, because thinking that I would have children, probably that would be lighter skin. So it's still kind of that goal,
Yeah.
I was called burnt piece of toast, all kinds of just nasty names growing up. And even as, I won't say how old I am, but even as an adult, you know, some of those nasty things that you hear as a child, it's amazing that as much as we try to move on and to leave it behind, it's still there.
It's still there, that voice is still there, it never leaves.
Yeah, it never leaves, it never leaves.
When I see this character of Gene and Alma, it's like for me, it's like a black Romeo and Juliet. You have the Capulets and you have the Montagues, a light skin versus a dark skin. And I believe neither one of them wants to be a part of this gang, this game that the light skinned blacks and the dark skinned blacks have in this play. I know that, and the thing is about Gene is that he loves dark women. And the how can I put it? The similarity for me is that I yield towards more darker women in my real life, because I've basically been married to a black woman. I've had black girlfriends, but they've been dark. So basically it's funny how that is that he does not to say that light skinned women are not beautiful. They're beautiful, they really are. But it seems like the lean for me in my personal life, and looking at Gene, is that I have that same thing. Is that I find darker women very beautiful, very exotic, very just gorgeous. And so but I don't understand this game. You have the black Romeo and Juliet caught in this Montague Capulet thing. And without giving away the ending, it just basically it makes no sense.
Well, I think also it's really interesting again because the families themselves are a bit and stuff. So even within Jean's family, you know, they're dealing with these color issues just in their own little nuclear unit. And then layered on top of that, you have the whole socioeconomic situation where Alma's living outside of the city limits, you know, outhouse, just, you know, oh my God. I've never survived. But I'm bougie as hell. I just am. But Jean's family is within the city limits, and they have the inside bathroom and the shower and all of the advantages of having, you know, a father who's working very hard and doing well for the family. So you've got the color issues, but then you've also got all of that socioeconomic stuff going on too, that they're both dealing with.
As actors, how are you dealing with the fact that you have to age? You have this, so you start the play off as 7 years old, and that play ends at.
Well, my last monologue, I mentioned it's 20 years later, so I'm like in my late 30s, early 40s by that time. So it's a huge age.
It is, and the longer we get away from our youth, sometimes the more difficult it is
I have no idea
to
what
really
you're talking about.
recapture.
I have no idea what you're saying.
I'm just saying